Hey all, so back with another war video here, and this one's a doozy. We are ramping Purgatory for a giant Node 46 Serpent later. We've got a rank 4 Photon. You'll notice I don't have any of the usual suspects. It's going to be a long war, but it's a fun one. So we're starting off with Purgatory versus Jabari here. This is Jabari's standard placement, and basically we can't parry, right? We can't parry, we can't sidestep into specials, because if we do any of that, then the debuffs that we apply on our specials because of the node are going to trigger her cleanse and going to trigger the damage reflection. And that's bad. And as I found out right there, punishing her special one is apparently very difficult to do in time to get the auto, or to get the unblockable off. So I'm going to be very careful with that, try and push to special 2 a little bit more pointedly like we do here. But the theory of this fight is basically the same as Jabari's Eternity of Pain fight, which is just you do a full combo before the special, and the cleanse has fallen off and you're good to go. And so we just ramped in a single special 2, finished it. So now we're up to this Spider Ham here, and I'm switching over to Ultron, not because Ultron is a great Spider Ham counter, but simply because Ultron was the one on my team that didn't have class disadvantage, right? We kind of needed things to be this way. I didn't have room to bring Venom or anyone else who works for this, and so here we are with Ultron, and basically the plan of attack is the same that it always is, which is just spam special 1. Now, Ultron does have some nice things going on here, right? Because his functions can't be affected by ability accuracy, we are mostly ignoring the Tranquilize here, and our bleeds are still applying. Our stun on the special 1 applying is actually not great for us. You'll notice that I'm not taking advantage of it at all here, and that is because Spider-Ham places power stings when stunned, and that is generally his threat, right? Is that power sting makes it difficult for you to throw your special 1 right away, you hold on to power, and oops, his nonsense climbs and bad things happen. And so that's why I am not using the stun, because I just don't want to risk it. But you'll see that the fight is otherwise going great, right? Our bleeds are landing through the Tranquilize, our heavy is landing a lot of bleeds, we're doing good damage. This is pretty simple. That one wasn't ideal. I didn't realize I was only 1 blocked hit away from a special there. I probably would have played it a little bit differently. So he's up to 3 nonsense now. But we can afford those kinds of small mistakes a couple times, right? And the fight is almost done, so this should finish it. But more than anything else, after my death to Wong in War 2, I'm just being really, really careful on this node to respect Aggression Fury. Because it can hurt. So yeah, that one's down. That was probably the worst RPG matchup I had this war, so glad to have it behind me. We move on to Section 2, and we have some more Purgatory ramp fights. Specifically, this Northstar is the most important fight I'm taking this war, because to fight Serpent on Node 46, which, spoiler, is where we're headed, I think you pretty close to need the mutant soul for Purgatory. Now, you can get that with the Jean Grey synergy, which I built for a reason, but I don't have a 7-star Jean Grey. She's not always going to fit on your warpaths, and so sometimes you're going to have to do something like this, right? There are a lot of mutants where Purgatory isn't really a great answer between the energy damage, the lack of armor, power control, and the Incinerate that she has, but Northstar specifically is a pretty good one. Now, this is not the best node for her to fight Northstar on, because the neutralizes aren't preventing any of the buffs, but as you can see, that doesn't really matter, because the important thing is the power steal is countering the power efficiency Northstar gets in speed boost, and is letting us just throw a bunch of giant special 2s, so that we finish the fight nice and clean. And so there, that was the ramp I needed. That one absolutely had to happen. And now we're on to Gorr here. This doesn't really matter because the only fight's not Morningstar. The only fights that I have with Purgatory after this Gorr are Cosmics, and so I would just have the effect of the Cosmic Soul in those fights anyway. But the important thing is to not die to this Gorr, because this is a pretty solid placement, right? I want to call out what happened there. Because there is Neutralize on this node, Gorr tried to apply a buff just from, the timer ticking over. And the Neutralize, with its 10% chance to cause that to fail, actually did cause it to fail, which gave us an unblockable buff, and that's what I used for my first opening. That is not guaranteed to happen. You might have to keep dancing around a little longer on this node, and that's fine. But basically, once we get into the rhythm here, we're good to go. Because Gorr is basically guaranteed to have the power efficiency. That means he's guaranteed to have power left over the specials. That means there's power for us to steal from the mutant soul. And we never have to look for another opening again. You see the no damage taken there. I only really needed to hit once. So very happy with how that went. We move on to this Gladiator fight. This one, I knew the setup would be a little bit tough. It's going to be messier than I was hoping. So this is Rich Get Richer and Footloose, right? That's kind of the fundamental scary part of this fight. We have the skill soul, which is the only reason I'm here, right? So that slow should be able to answer the Footloose buffs and allow us to hit into Gladiator's Unstoppable, even though it won't prevent it. That is exactly what I'm trying to focus on here, but it's gonna be tough. You'll also notice that I am only doing short hits for the combat deja vu thing, but the problem is I don't have the Neutralize high enough yet, I don't have the slow yet, and so I wasn't able to punish that first special too. And that meant things got rough in the corner, because Gladiator is good at backing you up. So now we have cold snaps on us. We're taking extra damage from that. Thankfully, Purgatory's 40% energy resist is helping out a little bit. But yeah, this is not how I wanted it to start. Thankfully, the buffs are expiring when they're not prevented. None of them are too long. We're nullifying them as we're crossing bars of power. We have the power gain from the Special 3 as well as the power steal we're getting from Gladiator. This is going better. And I knew that he would evade there. I did think I was going to be able to respond to it. That's okay. Let's just throw another Special 3. Because again, this is not how I wanted this fight to go, but at the same time, every time we throw this Special 3, we are continuing to apply these neutralizes. And while the neutralizes don't stop Gladiator's buffs, and therefore don't do anything to stop Rich Get Richer or his Unstoppable off the Special 1, what they do is allow us to keep ramping. And so now we are fully stopping Footloose, and we can play the node the way we want to. We got the slow up from the skill soul by doing medium, and rampage, so we don't have to worry about the Unstoppable on his Special 1 anymore. This is what we wanted the fight to look like. I was just hoping I would get punched in the face a little bit less and have to throw fewer Special 3s on the way. Would take that fight again. Definitely would continue to be careful with it, because I could play a little bit differently, but I think that's a tough one regardless. The setup is just tricky. Anyway, we move on to this Ultron versus Weapon X fight. You've seen this before. It's basically the same fight as previous seasons. Now we just start with these empathic lock debuffs up, and so I'm not going to gain power for a little bit. So you see me just kind of waiting, but I also don't want him to gain too many prowesses, and so I decide, you know what, it's fine. I'll just start hitting him at a power disadvantage. I know how this node works. We'll get back from there. We bait out the Special 1 here, knowing that he's going to go berserk. I took a small chance there. I was like, I'm pretty sure the Unblockable, or the Unstoppable, has a small enough duration left that I can hit in, and I was right, but very dangerous. There's a small chance that he could have parried me if I had been wrong there. We are always holding on to our block until the last second when we dodge here, because that's going to make him more likely to throw his heavy attacks while he has that big aggro bias, and that is making this fight easier, giving us our openings, but generally being very careful with the unblockable. We try and be full aggro during this cooldown because it means that we can really get in a lot with him healing less of it. Trying to make sure that we have a lot of these degens on him for that heavy, but things didn't quite line up as well this time, potentially because of the empathic lock, and that was a mistake, right? There was too much unstoppable left there. But so we do have to deal with one more full rotation of these, and when we throw our heavy, we get the degens, but not with the attack bonus from the special 2, just because the charges didn't quite line up as well this time. That's okay, still a very good fight, and we would be quite healthy if I had not tried to punish an unstoppable Weapon X too soon. Now, moving on to one of the two main events. We have this Serpent fight. People have been building their bands around this fight. It's very tough. It's obviously a good placement because it makes Serpent's power gain even worse. Purgatory is very good for this. She is better if you have the Mystic Soul, because then you also get block regen. But you don't need it. What I'm trying to do here is just get us ramped so we can start throwing a lot of special 2s and get damage. I didn't run straight for the special 2 before getting into Rampage because I do want that extra attack. But he's not really being super forthcoming with the special 1s here, so we're just going to take some special 2 damage. Not my favorite, but we'll deal. We'll throw the special 3 to get things going. It's going to give us more power gain, help keep us in Rampage, because remember, the sustain for Rampage is based on crossing bars of power. So any power gain we get, either from the special 3 or from the Power Steel Mutant Soul, is going to help keep us in Rampage. And when you're playing this fight properly, you should probably never lose it once you get into it. We are already up to 9 of those neutralizes. That means that by the time he gets to 0, we are going to be at 10. I use the medium there to consume power and be able to throw the special 2. He's at least throwing special 1s more here. He's crossed a few bars of power. I fully expect the death immunity to succeed, and there it does. And also, as expected, even though he's programmed with an aggression bias during the death immunity, sometimes doesn't play nice. Throws the special 3 anyway, that's why we invuln. We know he's going to be gaining power here. We go ahead and use the striker, and I'm going to finish with the medium so that we have the special 2, not the special 3, because the special 3 is instantaneous in terms of buffs expiring, and we wanted the actual duration of the special 2 animation for that death immunity to run out. So, basically exactly as expected. We took some damage, we took a special 3, but we had our striker saved for it, and we were able to just work past it. Alright, on to my second rank 4 Photon in 2 Wars. This is a tough one. I want to immediately shout out the way that you would play this fight on paper for it to be perfect would be to hit into her block and howl and basically just not trigger Bane until you absolutely have to with the special 2. However, I didn't go for that because as you'll notice here, I've fought Photon with Werewolf before. I generally don't have great luck with her letting me howl. Her animations are pretty aggressive, kind of like old school CMM before her. I threw that special 1 a minute ago just to manage Bane. It may have been a mistake because it means that we are actually going to lose our Curse of Lycanthropy here because I didn't want to throw the special 2 while she had too much power and knock her down. And we end up taking some Bane damage here anyway. Would have been nice if these ruptures were ticking for more. I think, in hindsight, probably should not have thrown the special 1 and just found a different opening to transfer Bane. But that's okay, because now we have fully waited out Pure Light form, and we can just dex her special 2s normally. We are winning the HP race, but it is a long way from over. I choose not to punish the special 2 so we can howl, go back into Curse of Lycanthropy, and now we're doing some real damage there. Should have used that Unstoppable properly for an opening, didn't quite have the battle IQ to notice that it was an opening, and then once I didn't want to hit in late and get parried, but wanted to call out you can use that there. Let's see, hitting into her block here doesn't quite send her into pure light, but that is on my mind that I can do it that way. I know she's not here, so I can dex, but I wanted to make sure I transferred Bane. Here we're going to do 2 hits, send her into pure light, and I'm close to another special too. I'm pretty sure I can just close this out. And I'm going to hard block when she comes up. I do still have my invuln, but it's okay. Didn't quite push her to special 2, so we could have blocked the special 1 all the way, and we had the invuln in case she just broke through. So yeah, stayed in control even as we were YOLOing it to close out the fight. And that's another rank 4 Photon down with a rank 3 Werewolf by Night at class disadvantage. Really strong champion. Good answer to that node where she does not have a lot of answers. And yeah, that was a big war. 8 fights, finishing out with me fighting 2 defenders I designed, one of which was a rank 4 on very difficult nodes. I was nervous for this one, but it was also a lot of fun. It was great to use Purgatory here. I've always liked her a lot since the buff. Have been telling people that she's good for Serpent, and there we go. It was fun to pull it off. Hope y'all enjoyed this one, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and take care.